So hey, join him out there. There's a bunch of photographers joining him this week. Big tour. He's all over the country. So come and join him. But because Scott can't be here and we can give away stuff, we're going to be giving away his landscape book. So if you want to get that, you can get his landscape book. We're going to be enter the contest, and we'll be drawing a name later to win that. We're also going to be drawing a name to win a Platypod Ultra. And these things were moving like hotcakes at Photoshop World.
I love my Platypod.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, I mean, and I was using that this weekend, shooting the Milky Way, using my Platypod. So right off a bridge. So it's great stuff. But before we get to talking about Photoshop World, I think one thing that would be really cool is the video team had put together a recap of basically everything in a video recap of what went on at Photoshop World. So I think that'll give people pretty good context if they didn't go, or even if you did go, kind of just a reminder of what we experienced over those 3 days. So let's roll that. All right, so there you go. That's a little behind the scenes, recap of what went on at Photoshop World. And I'll tell you, I mean, everybody is, all the feedback is everybody had a blast. Everybody loved the event. What did you think?
Just amazing as always. And I mean, and that video just shows just such a small percentage of what goes on there. And it's such a fun event. And you come away with knowledge and you come away with friends. I mean, lifelong friends from the event. I mean, to me, it's invaluable. I mean, it's an awesome experience. And every time I go, I learn something new, or I meet new people, and it's just an outstanding experience.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it's great to invest some time in yourself, especially for your creativity and to kind of recharge yourself. So I think a lot of people come out of Photoshop World recharged.
Absolutely.
But one of the things that you did again at Photoshop World was you set up a booth. So you had like a 10 by 20 booth where people could come shoot.
Yep.
So maybe you could kind of walk us through them. I think we have some pictures too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, so this was my model, Jeffrey, in the booth. So I built, it was sort of a steampunk inspired booth. It had moving gears, like the gears there, and one of them even says Photoshop. There it is, Photoshop World. So it had moving gears. It had an iris that can be opened and closed. It had smoke. You got to have smoke. So it had a smoke machine. It had built-in rim lights. Those things there that were a little overwhelming sometimes. I really wish I had put some dimmers on them, but they worked. And but it was a really, I mean, people really enjoyed using it and coming in and shooting it and shooting the model. And it was just a lot of fun to be manning the booth all day long and talking to people as they came through and getting their feedback on it. And it was just a really great time.
Cool. Look at that.
Yeah, Jeffrey, he was awesome. He was definitely rocking it.
So let me ask you. So you set this up, and we can get pictures like this. So attendees just came by, and you just worked with them to get pictures. Like, how did it work?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. I mean, most of them just kind of jumped right in and did what they wanted to do. Some of them, would ask for some direction. How should I try and do my settings and stuff? And I just said, well, there's a lot of different lights going on with there. So kind of depending on what kind of mood you're wanting, depending on, get at different angles and stuff. And a lot of people would come in that maybe had shot a little bit more, and they actually would direct the model as well. So they had no problem, saying, can you get by this light? Can you do that? And he really kind of worked to everybody in front. So everybody kind of got their own little time with him to shoot. So
that's awesome.
It just was, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, and it was. I mean, and your booth was just one of the places, one of the opportunities to shoot. Right across from you, Hilmar had a booth, right?
Yes.
So what was her booth all about?
She had a "What Happens in Vegas Stays in Vegas" booth where she set up a jail cell along with jail outfits on that people could get. She had a model, but she also had it where people could come in and get dressed up in the prison garb and take pictures in there. And she has been steadily posting about it and posting pictures since then. So that was a lot of fun.
I remember she tagged me in one of the photos on Facebook and had the photos, and my wife commented that, I guess I got to call make bail. So
better call Saul.
Yeah, exactly. So that was cool. And then there was other things like other booths, like here, maybe I could bring up some pictures. So this is Jeff Leinbach. I don't know if they got it setting up. We had brought in a motorcycle for attendees.
Yeah,
so,
that was cool too.
This was the night before. We're setting it up. We're lighting it. And here's just a shot. This is a shot from my iPhone. So that's a shot just from my iPhone. But there was just a bunch of different people could come up and shoot it. We had a model with it, stuff like that. And then the next day, Julio was setting up a shoot for a stormtrooper.
Stormtrooper, yeah.
And then there's the shot from my iPhone. We had a stormtrooper shoot. And people love that. They was just always packed like this, shooting that stormtrooper. That was one of the hits. Yeah, definitely one of the hits. So, and then actually also we had a guitar shoot on the floor. So guitar and food. You could shoot on the other side of the show floor. So that's again a shot from my iPhone, because that's the camera I had with me.
That's exactly it.
But still, great shots, great lighting, all that stuff, and that's what really makes that photo is all the things that come together.
Yeah.
About it.
That's the the nice thing about having those, because a lot of people won't maybe have never set up gone out and hired a model or done anything like that, and it gives them that opportunity that it eliminates that barrier of entry to try it, have somebody in front of you and do things like that. So I think it's a great opportunity.
That's awesome. I mean, and that's on a trade show floor. I mean, they got the smoke going behind you, all that stuff.
Yep.
I mean, that looks like it's a setup shot. I mean, it is a setup shot, but it doesn't look like something you're going to get on a trade show floor.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's really cool. We also had a cello player one day.
Yeah,
I think the Dark Request, the digital surgeon has a shot on that. We'll get to later. I'm sure he'll want to share, but we got some cool stuff. We got definitely some cool stuff. But beyond that, with Photoshop World, you know, there was another thing that happened at Photoshop World that I thought was really cool, and that is, so we have the Photoshop World Hall of Fame, and we've been doing it for 20 years, and Terry White was doing his keynote presentation, and then at the end of it, he basically had Scott stay on stage. And Scott's been doing the Photoshop World Hall of Fame for 20 years, but finally, and I think Terry's quote was, "This is something that should have been done at the first Photoshop World, but we're finally going to do it 20 years later." And Scott was inducted in the Photoshop World Hall of Fame, so that was awesome.
Yeah.
But I wanted to just show the video, because the video that they made for the Photoshop World Hall of Fame for Scott, I think it was really awesome. It was a great story, even of the life of the company, of Kelby One, of the grid, of everything. So I think they're going to roll that right now.
Our 2019 inductee into the Photoshop Hall of Fame is Scott Kelby. Photographer, business owner, author, instructor, musician, husband and father. It's impossible to define Scott Kelby precisely as one thing, or any combination of titles. His passion for photography and bringing the best out of other photographers through teaching goes beyond labels. Scott has been training Photoshop users since 1983, back when Adobe Photoshop was just a toddler. From there, he's grown up with Photoshop and its almost 30 years journey, educating millions along the way, to help unlock the power of this incredible software. As a young man, Scott fell in love with photography, honing his craft in the film era. Traveling and sharing with his brother, Jeff, they spent a lot of time taking photographs. Scott got into Photoshop after opening a small graphic design studio with his business partner and wife, Calibra. This studio acted as an art department for small advertising agencies who could not afford their own in-house designers. This is where he was first introduced to Adobe Photoshop 2.0 and fell in love with what the program could do. From there, the rest is history. In 1993, he and Calibra founded KW Computer Training with Jim Workman and Gene Kendra. That same year, they produced the first large-scale one-day Photoshop training seminar, which would become what we know today as Kelby One Live. In 1998, KW formed a membership community for Photoshop users called the National Association for Photoshop Professionals, and they hosted an event for their members, the first ever Photoshop World Conference in Orlando, Florida. Realizing that there was no centralized place for both Photoshop and photography training, in the fall of 2007, KelbyTraining.com was created to bring training online. Eventually, it merged with NAP to form Kelby One Photography Training, which has impacted hundreds of thousands of photographers and Photoshop users. To further build a community, in 2008, Scott launched the Scott Kelby Worldwide Photo Walk, bringing photographers together in over 1,000 cities, with over 30,000 photographers participating annually. Since its start 11 years ago, the Photo Walk is approaching 500,000 walkers. If that wasn't enough, the Worldwide Photo Walk is set up to raise money for Springs of Hope, a foundation for orphan children in Kenya, with 100% of the money raised going straight to the charity. His passion and dedication for teaching others pours out in his books. With over 6 #1 best-selling books over his career, Scott is the world's #1 best-selling author of Photoshop and digital photography books ever. He's won the prestigious Benjamin Franklin Award and was presented with the Hamdan International Photography Award by the Crown Prince of Dubai for his contributions to photography education. In 2012, he also received the ASP International Award presented annually by the American Society of Photographers. And it doesn't stop there. In 2017, Scott hit the mark for selling over 5 million books worldwide. Scott has built his life and his company around teaching people without holding back. His teaching approach is like learning from a friend as he effortlessly shares his secrets, paving the way to help students reach their dreams. The president and CEO of Kelby One Photography Training, the editor and publisher of Photoshop User Magazine, publisher of Lightroom Magazine, training director and lead instructor for Kelby One Live seminars, conference technical chair for the Photoshop World Conference. He's the host of the weekly photography talk show, The Grid, and an award-winning author. Scott's a man who has built an educational empire, sharing his hard-earned knowledge, building community, and inspiring others to reach their dreams. He's also stayed true to himself and his family. His life embodies his personal philosophy. You never go wrong by doing the right thing. And for all these reasons, today, we are proud to induct Scott Kelby into the Photoshop World Hall of Fame.
Well, hey guys, thanks for indulging me there and watching that, because I know if Scott was here, he would not let us play that, because he'd be like, no, I'm not on my own show going to do that. But I just thought it was really cool. It was something to share with you guys, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. Hey, we have to take a quick break, but when we come back, I want to talk about something cool that's happening in Mark's life, and then talking about creativity with him. So if you've ever been out on location and wondering, where's the sun going to be? Where's the moon going to be? Where's the Milky Way going to intersect? This is where we can plan, and we can go in specifically and look at dates and exact locations and get you into the best scenario to get the shot you want. We're really going to dive into how to use a tool like PhotoPills to really design where that light's going to fall on your subject, how that light's going to be in the environment around you, and then getting into how to calculate in the right exposures for capturing star trails or capturing star points, getting into the nitty-gritty of everything you need to do to master how to harness the power of the sun and the moon and the Milky Way illuminating your scene. So join me, Erik Kuna, at kelby1.com, where we teach you about PhotoPills and how to harness the power of light.
Hi, I'm Dave Williams. I'm a travel photographer, and that means I spend my time traveling the world taking photos, and I have to make money from it. Wouldn't you love to make money from your vacation photos too? Every photo in this magazine and every other magazine you see comes from somewhere, and there's no reason these photos can't come from you. It's every photographer's dream to make money from their photography, whether it's to buy a house or just to buy a new lens. I'm going to take you through it in this brand new class. I'm going to talk about Instagram influencing, about direct marketing, about microstock. I'm going to show you who to reach out to and how. And I'm going to show you what sells and why, and how to network the right way to get it done. I'll also show you the compositional techniques you need, the things you need to consider so that your photo sells, including the color and the tone that maybe you didn't consider before. So join me in my brand new class at Kelby One, How to Make Money from Your Vacation Photos.
When you need a tripod that is compact, that is portable enough to take with you anywhere, one that is adaptable to any situation, that will prove versatile enough for any shoot, and is compatible with your other gear, giving you freedom to create your own perspective. Look no further. Platypod Ultra does it all. Visit platypod.com for more info.
This segment of The Grid is brought to you by B&H Photo, the professional source since 1973.
Hey, we're back, and notice in that ad I got one shirt that I wear, so there you go. I guess this one's clean today. So anyways, it was pretty bad. So hey, before we get on, Daniel has a question here for you. Daniel's asking, I do have a question for you, Mark, on this. How did you make the smoke? Was it a smoke machine or a smoke spray can? How'd you do that?
I import all my smoke from foreign countries. No.
All right.
I use a
Exotic?
It's a, I think I'm going to pronounce it correctly, Chauvet. It's C-A-U-V-E-T,
yes.
DJ
Chauvet
Hurricane.
is what I call it.
DJ Hurricane 1000. And for the booth, I had a hole that I cut in the back and put a little screen over it so you couldn't see it. So it was actually behind the booth. And it was on a interval timer that it fired every minute and a half, 2 minutes or so. And it would do about a 10-second blast, just enough to kind of fill the booth so that it didn't, overwhelm. And it's
Can you control it too?
also can control it. I have a little wireless remote that I can actually fire if I need to. The nice thing is it's water based, so it doesn't leave a residue. It's firing it all day long, pretty much continuously for 5 or 6 hours.
Water and oil based.
Yeah. And it doesn't leave a residue, and also it dissipates pretty quickly. So if you want the smoke out of the scene, you can pretty much wave it out and it'll go away. So it's a really nice and affordable and small unit. It's very
What
compact.
would you say, like cost wise? What does something like that run?
I think the machine itself is like 109, something like that, and then like $25 for the timer. So for something like this, it was perfect. I mean, I didn't have to babysit it all day. I could walk away and it was do it on its own, and I knew what it was going to do, knew how much it was going to do, and even like I said, it's water based, so it doesn't doesn't clog up or leave a lot of junk and gunk everywhere. So or make everything slick like the other ones can. The
And we have the same one here, almost the same one here as well that we use on productions. We've even taken it out on location. Have you ever taken yours out on location?
Yeah. Well, I mean, with the booth, like I had it this year, and I also had it last year with the electric chair, and it works great. I mean, you plug it in and it fires, and really dependable too.
Yep.
It's not like some of those ones you get at the Halloween store where they like work for like a day and then they're toast. This one definitely is a workworkhorse because, like I said, I ran it.
You're right about the oil versus the water base is always better. The water based.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, cool. Well, speaking of cool stuff, you've got something really cool that's happening right now. You have your own gallery going right now in Tampa in like Ybor, right?
Yeah.
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 So tell us a little about it.
The show is called Pieces of Reality, and it's at Gallery 114, which is inside the HCC Ybor Fine Arts School down in Ybor, and it runs through September 19th, and I'll be there on September 5th doing an actual gallery talk, and be there to field any questions anybody might have about the work. I'll be trying to explain my work. It isn't always an easy thing to do, but I'm going to try and kind of give some insight of how I come up with some of the stuff I do, where kind of my little bit of my background of how it led to why I do a lot of my self-portrait work and stuff like that, and some of the backstory of a few of the pieces that are directly related to why I do self-portraiture so much. So
cool.
And so far it started on the 19th of this month, and when I got back on Monday from Photoshop World, I contacted the gallery, and they said it's just doing awesome. Great reception so far. People are a little bit floored by it, and that's a good thing. They don't know how to even describe it. That she said to a couple of people, they were just like, I don't know how to even say what I'm feeling, but it's awesome. So that's like I think that's one of the best compliments.
That's kind of like what Mark aims for, right?
Exactly. Like total I want to floor you and
amazement, but yet you're like, I don't know if I should be happy. I don't know if I should be, I just like amazement.
But yeah, so it's going really well.
Well, congratulations. That's
you.
awesome. That's really cool. It's always cool when your work gets noticed like that. You get to that point. So let me ask you, like, how did they just contact you? How'd that happen?
Yeah, well, a couple of years ago, I started doing actually gallery shows. I hadn't been, I'd always just have everything on my computer, on my tablets or whatnot. And I joined a local group called TB SOPA, which is the Tampa Bay Society of Photographic Artists, and just an amazing group of photographers. And we're all kind of we all have our different strengths and different styles and stuff. And through them, they started we put on shows throughout the year, probably about 6 to 8 exhibits throughout the year. And so I started actually showing. So I started doing a little more shows. I did a show called Project Dark Arts last year. And while I was at that show, I had someone come that was at the show that is the director or one of the instructors over at HCC, and he liked that at my booth that I had my artwork at, that I was also showing my speed edits and stuff. So he immediately, saw the correlation that it could be a teaching element. So
Okay, cool.
the show itself kind of has a teaching element to it. So I've got a loop of my speed edits.
Neat.
It's got also some of my props that I built, like my electric chair and stuff, which I'm encouraging people to go and sit and take a selfie in and tag it, because I want to see everybody in the chair. I want to see everybody in the chair. So it kind of came about them approaching me about it, and I was like, absolutely. So this is my first. I've been showing for almost 2 years now, but this is my first actual solo show, and so it's kind of a retrospect of all my work. So it kind of has stuff from early days up to current. So there's not a direct theme with it, but it does have some correlation in some of the parts of it that do kind of blend.
So a question, is that show visiting any other cities, or just here in Tampa?
Just here right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
But who knows?
Well, but speaking of, that's a good point, because we have people joining us all over the world. I saw up in the the hellos, and that's one thing, in your area, it's probably very similar no matter where you are. Like Deb saying, "Hey," from hot California, which we can attest, it's hot in California right now. We were out there, and Nina saying greetings from Pennsylvania. We got Yolanda saying hello from all the way from the Netherlands. So we got Chandra from Newfoundland. We have Stuart from Scotland. So we got we got David from Sweden. We got Concepcia from Boston. Hope you're going to Scott's tour tomorrow. Elaine saying loves your work.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we got people joining us all over the world. It's a very similar situation, I think, in all major cities, right? Or
Right.
even any city, is connecting with local artists like you did, or connecting with the local community and kind of just plugging in, and then you kind of meet up with people. And that kind of opens up these doors.
It really does. And actually, it was something that I hadn't done through kind of up my career. I was kind of just always sort of working in a bubble. I mean, I really was very isolated, and I didn't really even realize the community of artists and other artists that were in the area, just because I did kind of keep myself sequestered. Just did my own work. I didn't really, I posted every once in a while on social media and stuff. And then I started joining some like meetup groups and stuff like that, and started, really starting to see, just the amazing bed of talent that was in this area. And, you probably have that in your area, and you might not know it if you don't go out and look for it. And by meeting these other artists, and it affords opportunities like this, and it affords chance happenings sometimes, or a way to do networking that can actually start to get your name spread around, and then your name gets passed on, and then once you maybe become kind of known in your area, then you maybe start branching out from there. So
Exactly.
and at the same time, you can be supporting the other artists in your area, so you all go up at the same time. That it's not just, oh, it's just me, but there's so many amazing artists in your area that you also can plug, and you can also talk about and bring them up as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, you have that with your community. I know that there's just people all around you that and a lot of them come to Photoshop World too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, very cool. Well, we have to take a break, but when we come back, I'm not sure if the digital surgeon is going to join us yet. He will make an appearance. He is. He's going to make an appearance. But we'll bring him on. We want to talk about some more stuff, and we want to just talk, about creativity.
Cool.
Yeah.
This segment of The Grid is brought to you by Canon.
Make sure you don't miss any episodes of The Grid by subscribing to Apple's podcast app or iTunes. It's free, and we even have a special audio-only version too. So sign up today.
All right, guys, we're back, and guess who came out of the booth?
Yeah.
We got the digital surgeon.
Yeah. First time on this side.
So Jason, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Jason is the guy behind the scenes who you, whenever you see it, the show switching or going to different camera angles or anything like that, that's your job, right?
Yep.
So you just
so I'm the director of The Grid.
Yeah.
Yep.
So director of the Grid. Does all that. You as well, you're always you're director on a lot of the Kelby 1 classes, a lot of the shoots, doing the video editing, even during the keynote, right?
Correct.
In the Photoshop world. So basically you got your hands on a lot of the video stuff, right?
Absolutely. Video's been my expertise for 21 years now. I've been doing it.
And there you go.
Yep.
But that you're really also into photography, right?
Yeah, as soon as I joined, I was into photography before I joined Kelby 1, but once I started working for Kelby 1 and working with all these amazing instructors, I've been inspired. So then I picked up a camera. I just got my first full frame, the Sony A7R II.
Ooh, a Sony, huh?
Yeah. A Sony.
No, I know you have a Sony. We've had many conversations about that.
But no, it's funny because I have all three. I have a Nikon 1, so the first Nikon mirrorless camera, and I'll take that when it's like out on the beach or on a boat.
When you're like, it's a Nikon, if I drop it, I drop it.
Which still, I've been getting great shots out of that. And then I got a Canon 70D, which I love the video out of that camera. And that's the crop sensor, so I'll use that also if I want to get a little closer.
Yep.
With these lenses,
We just shot the Milky Way. I shot with my 70D. Yeah. And then you have the A7R II.
Yeah, and
right?
I can't say like the 4K video out of that Sony is absolutely amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, for video, the Sony cannot be beat.
So I shoot music videos and several different things that I'll shoot it in 4K and then I can digitally zoom in to 1080, and that's it's awesome. It's like having a extra camera person out on the shoot with you.
So, we were just out, and Mark, I don't know if you do much night photography or Milky Way or anything like that, but we were just
played around a little bit.
Yeah, we were out. I think we were talking about like we've seen it we living in Florida don't see it much.
Right. Yeah,
but we were out shooting, right?
Yep.
And we were doing a class, and I thought it was really cool that Jason had never really experienced it before, and you got to shoot it for the first time. And the first story is, it was really cool when we were out in the Mojave the first night, and we got the shot all set up, and I'm kind of tweaking my composition, and I think Jason's trying to figure out why is he spending so much time. I think maybe you finally started figuring that out towards the end, but Jason's out in the desert maybe about 50 yards from us. And I told him, we were messing around with settings and we were talking settings, and I remember your first frame. And I don't know if you remember it.
I do.
But I remember you hit that shutter and it opens, and then we hear silence and and we're over there and we're just talking. And then all of a sudden out of the desert you hear a whoa! It's like you just lit up. And so tell us a little bit about the experience about shooting the Milky Way.
Well, that was the thing. Like Eric's totally correct. Like I was blown away to actually. Well, I've seen when I said like I've never really seen the Milky Way. I've kind of seen it, but never like clear. I'm from upstate New York, and then I live in Florida now.
Yeah.
So it's really tough. But once, like Eric said, once I did that long exposure and saw it pop up on the LCD, I was like, holy cow, that is awesome. And I was so excited because these guys are veterans, like Cheeky Nando and Alan.
We had a couple guys from the community.
So this is my first time, and I was just like so excited, and they were cracking up of how excited I got.
Well, because we remember there was a time when it was like, it still is like that for me. Like I'm still excited, but it's just that you had that unbridled enthusiasm. It was like up at 11. It was so great. It was so great to shoot with you and experience that with you for the first time. And I just think the whole experience was really cool. But maybe we could, just walk through kind of what we did. So
Yeah, so basically we're doing the class about how to shoot the Milky Way. It's Erik's class. And we did 3 different locations. One was the Mojave Desert, and with the Joshua Tree in the foreground. And then we did Zion National Park. And that was the river with the Milky Way coming down in the perfect between the peaks. Like
that's
right
your
here,
that's your
that's
shot.
actually my shot that I got.
There's the digital surgeon shot,
awesome.
right?
Which took me several hours to post because Erik's been giving me some tips, but to get it just to look natural was like really difficult. But I'm happy with the shot. Obviously, it's
Well, I love how it comes down the river and how the river's glowing, and it's like it leads you all the way through the scene. You know, I thought it was so funny. Well, it's not funny. It's really interesting being out there with other photographers because Zion's the one place that we were with, 20, 30 other photographers all lined up on the bridge.
I have a picture of that, but yeah.
So,
It was funny.
you're lined up there, and what was really funny is I remember when you got that shot and your enthusiasm for that shot because you got it and the same kind of reaction. And then us as photographers, you know what all 20 other photographers did? Oh, can I see?
Yeah.
Oh, can I see? And then they proceeded to go, well, what was your settings, right? And they were asking you your settings. And what I really thought was kind of telling about that is there was so much confusion out there about how long I should keep it open, what my ISO should be, what my f-stop would be. And it's like the conversation from that shot became the whole bridge talking about the Milky Way and the settings. And what I found really interesting is there was a guy next to me who had a A7R3, which arguably, I'd love an A7R3 for doing this. That is that's the camera, or maybe in the new one would probably be the camera. And he was, his frame was super dark. I mean, I could tell. And I always recommend, and one of the things in the class is, this is the only time I use the histogram. I do not, I'm probably with you, like creativity, I don't use the histogram. But this is the one time I have to because it's so dark out that your LCD is going to lie to you. It's going to seem brighter, it's backlit, it's all that. So you got to use your histogram and figure out, am I clipping that data in the sky? Is it just black? And most people's histogram will be slapped up against the side here. And that's where, either you're going to adjust one of 3 things. It's either shutter speed's going to be longer, your f-stop's going to be lower, which if you're shooting the Milky Way, you got your bottom f-stop. So now we're stuck with shutter speed, or you're left to boost your ISO. But everybody's afraid to boost your ISO, and he was afraid to go above 3200 on a Sony A7R3, and I said, man, I wish I had a Sony A7R3. I'd be going to 12,800. I'd be going to 25,000, even because what did you end up?
I had the most on the ISO was the 6400. And in post, it does look good. The picture, the frame I got looks amazing, but in post, when you start tweaking, all the grain comes out.
So that's why, another tip that I'd always have is, I'd rather boost it and get that histogram looking good than try to amplify it later because, when you're shooting at those high ISOs, it just falls apart.
But the 3200 ISO is the pic that we just saw. That looked amazing, and I had room to play with. So, and I was doing a 6-second exposure, and I experimented up to 30 seconds too.
Right. And you were also using photo pills for your calculations?
Correct. So thanks to you, I downloaded that the day of. It's only $10 now, and man, it's so cool, the augmented reality, and you can actually push.
I think Jason sold it to 20 people on the trip. So photo pills, if you're watching, at least $200 came from Jason this week. Guaranteed.
When it works, it works. I mean, it was an amazing app. Everyone, when I showed some photographers that weren't using it, I'm like, it's going to come right here, and they're kind of looking at me like, no. And then all of a sudden,
because you don't think it's going to move that much in 30 minutes. But and it was exact on the money.
And then as soon as it did, they all looked at me. And I was like, photo pills.
So great. It was so great. But what was your favorite shoot that we did?
I gotta say the desert was the first one, the Mojave Desert, because that was the first time I experienced. We were in a non-restricted drone area, so I was able to fly the drone, the Mavic Air.
Yeah.
And so I threw that up and got B-roll of Erik walking in, and we were probably, we were a good distance into the desert. So got a lot of good B-roll of that, and then I got this shot. I don't know if Mike can pull her up, the alien shot. And Erik had this laser to point at Polaris to steady his. And that's light painting right there.
So that's a different type of light painting. So that's one thing. Jason, I will say, he loves to experiment, and I love that about Jason's photography and videography. And he said, "Hey, I'm gonna go sit down in the desert. Just open up my shutter." And you told me where to paint, and I just painted the laser on there while he was sitting in the desert. And you could see him on the bottom right just looking at it, and it looks interesting. I've never seen anything like it. Light painting with lasers is a new genre for me.
Yeah, I absolutely love this shot. I mean, it is so cool to me because the Joshua tree itself looks like an alien.
Yeah.
You know, like it made it come to life.
Oh, it's an alien tree, right?
Yeah.
It's one of those trees where you're like, how did that grow on Earth, right?
Yeah.
But what's cool about this shot too is, and I think a lot of people, that is one exposure. That is not a composition. That Milky Way is actually exposed to balance with the light of the laser. So we actually timed what that exposure would be so we wouldn't have to comp it. Now you can do comps, you can do single exposures. We did all that in the class.
Yeah, I believe this was 6 seconds. I was judging on the Milky Way again in the background on the right. I don't know on your television screen, it's the same. But yeah, it was I was kind of exposing for the Milky Way, and then Erik just had that light. I mean, we did a couple of test shots before this particular one nailed it.
Yeah.
But this one nailed it, and I absolutely love that shot.
Oh yeah.
It's one of my favorite shots I ever. And like I was so happy, and then Juan's like, "Hey man, there's scorpions. You probably shouldn't be sitting down."
But
that would be a buzz.
They all survived.
Yeah.
But here was like here's one of my screen. This is one that we did as well. I wrote love in the trees there.
Yeah, as soon as Erik saw it, you got excited too.
Well, no,
I got
this because this was totally new for me. Like I've done light painting before, but what it was is I had a laser for my my star tracker, and we were like, I wonder what would happen. And it was a combination of Juan, Jason, and I. Our ideas kind of melding together, and here's that shot of you out in the desert as well. So that's from my camera. So mine's a little longer of an exposure. So when you were at 6, I was at, I think, 15 for this one.
Okay.
Possibly 15. I think it was 15. Yeah, 15 for this one. And then, I just painted you right from you up the tree. And I love just how that looks, how the...
Yeah, and your Milky Way came out because of the longer exposure. It's more pop in the Milky Way.
Yeah, and then we had to deal with, to the right there, that is San Diego and LA in the frame. So we had to deal with that. That's actually why we stuck the mountains over there in our comp, because we knew San Diego and LA would be there because of photo pills. So, adding some elevation there blocks out a little bit of that light pollution. So really cool. So, but yeah, let me walk you through kind of like what we did as far as, maybe we could go through the behind the scenes first.
Well, I got I do have the Christina's calling for break.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. Look at see now you get it. Now you get it, right? So this is what we're dealing with. So when we come back, I'll take you through a couple behind the scenes shots, and then we have a behind the scenes video. I'll show some shots, and we'll just keep on talking about it.
Yeah, definitely stay tuned. I got this. I threw it together literally a half hour before the show, but I got behind the scenes at the Grand Canyon, and it is awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Hi there, Kelby One members. Corey Barker here with Master Effects Training, and I'm very excited to announce that I'm going to be bringing some of my exclusive Master Effects Training content to the Kelby One library. I'm very excited about this because we are going to be exploring things like 3D effects, compositing effects, and other special effects, giving you an arsenal of creative techniques that you can utilize in your own work, taking it to the next level. So I hope you'll join me in checking out my newest projects here at kelby1.com.
Rick Salmon, Canon Explorer of Light, Kelby One instructor, author of 38 books. We're in Costa Rica on the Osa Peninsula that National Geographic called the most biologically intense place on the planet. So I've explored the East Coast and the West Coast here, but the West Coast, the Osa Peninsula, this is totally amazing. The jungle is so thick, the rainforest is so thick, there's so many animals around. Our base camp for this trip was Crocodile Bay Resort. You know, these guys are amazing. It's a first-class resort. Try to meet Bryce Johnson and Brian Johnson, two of the partners there. These guys are not only great photographers, they're great people. You can learn a lot from both of them. To our naturalist, Dennis Atencio Valverde. He's an amazing guy. He's also a great photographer. You're going to learn about exposure. You're going to learn about composition. But what I really like about doing this class was how we weave in the importance of the conservation efforts of everyone that we've met here. It's awesome. You know, two more highlights of the trip were going to these ecological centers. One was the Osa Interactive Gardens, where we got some great pictures of some butterflies, and the other one was Latarde, where we got some amazing, really close-up pictures of the poison dart frog. So please check out my latest class on Kelby One, Uncovering the Magic of the Rainforest. I'm Rick Salmon. I'll catch you later.
Hey guys, Christy from Shark Pixel here, and I am super thrilled to be bringing you a brand new class all about actions. So if you're a regular Photoshop user, you have a certain set of things that you do and apply to every single image that you work on. Well, if you do something more than 5 times, you need to have an action for it. So that's why this class is so important. It's going to teach you all of the skills that you need to know in order to let Photoshop do the work for you and working smarter and not harder. So in this class, we are going to get really advanced with the actions that we create. We're also going to start compounding actions where we literally layer multiple actions on top of one another. And then also we're going to be doing complete start to finish actions for skin retouching. So come check out my new class where we take actions to the next level, only on kelby1.com.
This segment of The Grid is brought to you by Platypod, the world's most compact tripod base.
And Jason would be in there going, you guys need to stop with the hand. Like, I love this because Jason's getting the other side of the world right now.
See?
So
Like
he's getting to see the
self-portraiture
other side of
for
the world.
Jason.
But hey, so let me just take you really quickly, kind of what Jason was talking about. On my screen, I've got, like, this is the shot of that tree. This is just from my iPhone again. That's the shot of the tree before, when we got there. We're looking for a composition. We're looking for something to shoot. We zoned in on this location. This is our location for the Zion shots, which we have. We're just there, right on the bridge.
Beautiful.
And then there's another camera angle, you know, right on the bridge. This was actually a restaurant that Rick Salmon turned us onto that we ate at.
Yep.
The Thunderbird restaurant right there at the Mount Carmel
I had
Junction.
a root beer float there.
Jason had a root beer float and chicken wings, right?
Yes.
This is us at the Grand Canyon. What I thought was crazy was I was setting up my shot, but these people are walking out to the edge, and I do not, I mean, this
it was too much.
This is crazy. I could not believe it. And then I love this. This is a shot of Digital Surgeon trying to get his, Juan's over there trying to get his Instagram picture.
I told him, like, pretend there's like this cool car behind me.
And then here's the group of us. What was cool is we got to go out with Fernando, Cheeky Nando, who's one of the community moderators, and then Alan, one of our community leaders over at Kelby One. So that was really cool. And that's, again, that shot of that bridge. There, just for context. That's what we were shooting on, basically that section of the bridge between the pavement and the road. And be very careful if you're ever in this spot, because that is an active road, and you do not want to step back. But But anyways, let me just real quickly too, to kind of give you context, maybe show some of the test shots. So this is some stuff, and then we'll get to your video. This was out in the Mojave, so that's the Milky Way coming up, and then we ended up.
Wow.
Oh, I don't want to show that one because that's the one that the digital surgeon has a video about. Let's see. So that was the Mojave. That's that tree that we were talking about. Then we went and we did some light painting, some light painting. And that was a shot of the Area 51 mailbox.
Yep.
You guys weren't on that one.
Eric,
but
Eric got me a coffee cup.
That was the Area 51. And then I added a little, the light rays from the aliens were coming to take you. But cool stuff. And this was the Zion shots. So
amazing.
Yeah, the Zion coming down the river, and then a little wider one, and that's the one with the Tamron 15. So it's vertical, a little wider, like you saw. And that was the 5D Mark III. So 5D Mark III. Little context. Let's see. This one right here is from the Grand Canyon, and that is the Canon 70D.
Wow, I haven't seen that one yet. That's awesome.
So, but anyways, you have a video of the Grand Canyon kind of tour,
wait until
right?
you guys see this. This is awesome.
And right
You
now
can,
we're trying to
roll
find
her
the best
anytime.
view for the Milky Way. We're rolling in. Eric's on the move. He's using his PhotoPills app right now, judging every rock crevice and where it's going to set at 11:30 p.m. Fernando's smart because he just uses Erik to find the best spot. Again, this is all part of scouting. We saw the location over on the side, and it might not be the most ideal spot once we got here. So now we're looking around to see exactly where we want this Milky Way to set over these hills. Absolutely beautiful. We have these narrow trails here. This is the Grand Canyon National Park. Definitely bring your water. I am exhausted already, but I got a lot of gear I'm hiking with. Got video and photography gear. And up to the left, here's Fernando. He's setting up. He's got his spot, I think. What do you think? What are you looking at?
I'm looking for the canyon has a background and just having the Milky Way, kind of similar to the other ones. I'm not gonna have a frontal element or a foreground element, but it should be fine, I hope.
And where do you think it's going to be as far as the app?
I need to get my PhotoPills app to make sure that, yeah, it's gonna be, yeah, right in the middle, right in direction of.
Oh yeah, that looks amazing. I'm gonna get a little closer here to see if I can kind of get a point of view shot of what Chiquinando is getting. Look at that. He's betting based on PhotoPills, which isn't a bet. That's a sure thing. The Milky Way is going to be perfect right here down to this base. I like it. Thumbs up. Erik is looking for a pano shot. So he's going to show us how to do panos tonight. So I am scoping it out myself. I'm going to try to get a picture myself here, but definitely going to be following what Erik's doing. I mean, look at this drop off. This is unbelievable. There's no sort of, and you can't even tell on video. I'm telling you, like when I look with my own eyes, it's even like more scary than what I'm showing you right here. I mean, I take one step off this rock right here and I'm a goner, no doubt. I mean, this is another thing to be aware of is the other hikers that I was just talking to. You know, they ask, the first thing they ask is how you getting back at night. So I got a lamp to make sure, you know, I'm going to be able to see on this trail. Erik might have his spot over here. Look at this view right here. It is amazing. Okay, there they are way up there. I see them. So they got a nice vantage point. The Milky Way is going to be out, coming out over this ridge on, actually it's going to be over here. So they probably have it angled. We'll get over first person view of where they're set up. I mean, we're like straight up. Look at that. Look at the edge of that rock. That's crazy. This is awesome. Oh, here's the other Alan. Where are you setting up?
Near Fernando.
Okay, so Fernando has a friend.
Oh.
You were surprised? All right, we got some sort of border here so I don't fall off. But yeah, that is a drop. One step off there, and it's on both sides. There's no catching anything. So if I fall, this would be the last. Hopefully you'll be able to retrieve this recording. Tell my mother I love her. She was a good mom. And you gotta be careful of the other hikers. We're getting up to Erik and Juan.
We're going to focus on this tree for a pano because the Milky Way is going to run all the way up here. So we're going to do tree, rocks, which is not going to be the classic canyon shot. This tree is just so cool.
It's almost like a bonsai.
Yeah. Yeah, so we want to do something with this. So we got to own this tree, and then we're just going to go right to the other side of the tree.
Perfect.
All right, so you made it back.
Yeah.
You didn't drop the footage.
No.
You didn't have to have your mom come find the footage. But yeah, so that was we went all over and tried to find those camera angles, and then we ended up with that one shot. This was the single exposure shot of that shot that we're talking about on the screen here. So that's a single, and then we went ahead and did a three. We panned up the 3-pan pano to create that.
Yeah, so, I just wanted to say, and that's why I was excited to show that video, because it absolutely takes a lot of planning and thought to get a shot like this. I mean, this is amazing. And it's not like Erik just went out and was like, all right, there, I'm going to sit up there and shoot it. I mean, he scouted, the entire area. He saw this tree. And that would have been
we timed it to the minutes that we wanted.
Foreground, and then looking at the PhotoPills app to know exactly precisely where that Milky Way was going to be. The only thing we didn't account for on this particular shot was the light pollution on the bottom, but Erik made it work with the way he composited the shot.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I wish I would have. Well, we did have some trouble here in that there was a fire. So we had a lot more haze on the bottom there, and you're actually seeing that shouldn't be as much light pollution. I've been in this, or I haven't been on this spot, but in the other side, there should not be as much light pollution because I've been on the other side of it. But I think the fire really worked against us. But we ended up working with it. That's sometimes what you have to do, is just kind of work with the environment you're getting. So very cool stuff. So we got some questions coming in. So Daniel's asking, Erik, have you ever used an anti-light pollution filter? All the time. I actually, shooting in Florida, I use it pretty much every time because we are so light polluted here. There are spots in Florida you can go shoot the Milky Way, about 5, not too many. And then too, honestly, a lot of times with my rocket shots, if I'm doing longer streaks or stuff like that, I will use light pollution filters to cut down on the light pollution on the ground. So I use a Hyeta one. It's actually called Clear Night or Clear Sky, or it's a Hyeta filter. It's a screw-on. It's a great filter. So, and all that does is filter out the sodium vapor light. It kind of lessens the amount. So John's asking, okay, here's a question. When shooting the Milky Way, what percentage of your photos of the Milky Way and what's percentage of the foreground? 70-30 Milky Way versus foreground. I would say, for example, with this shot, the sky, obviously, or the Milky Way is 100% the Milky Way. Then what we're doing is we're painting in some of the foreground. That's more like probably 30 to 50%, mattering on what it is, So between 30 and 50, somewhere in there. So you're right in the ballpark. And that's also a reason why we get out there a lot of times early, is to get that composition locked down, especially the time of year we're shooting. We're at that advantage of the core is going to set from about 9 or 10 at night till about 11 at night. So we were right after twilight. So we could actually set up our camera, get the twilight exposure, then go ahead and just wait for that other exposure. You can do the opposite in the beginning of the season, where you can get the exposure because the Milky Way core will be coming out right about at right before sunrise twilight, and then you could just stick around for it on the other side. So
yeah, and it did take me after the Mojave area to understand what he was trying to do with because I understand, like, obviously getting the twilight shot and then you're compositing with the Milky Way shot, but the weight I didn't understand. Like, why are we waiting so long? But the weight was because of that's where the Milky Way is moving in the sky.
Yes,
to get
'cause
to the
Milky Way's
position
traveling.
where you.
So, like, with this
your
shot-
camera is locked down.
Yeah, when this shot this up on my screen, when the twilight exposure was taken, that the Milky Way was actually probably all the way almost to the left. I can't see with my cursor. It was almost right here, and it had traveled all the way. And we knew we wanted it in that position where it would be over the tree, peering down the spots in between the rocks and the canyon, and we wanted it to kind of flow down that way. And that was the shot we were going after, is that because it looks weird when the Milky Way is going through the tree.
Mm-hmm.
I have a shot of that, and then actually I did it with a different camera. And it looks pretty cool, but this shot's the one I love. Because again, it's composed how I wanted it.
Rick Salmon tip.
Yep.
Rick Salmon tip, bring 2 cameras.
Yes.
You know, because you're waiting there that, like, it could be 2 hours.
Yeah.
And it's so beautiful, like, to bring that second camera and get shots of what's going on during that 2-hour time frame, because there's still shots to be taken.
That's exactly what we did. Is I had this one camera this was the shot at the Grand Canyon that I locked. So that was the committed shot. Then the other shots you see from the Grand Canyon were I'm trying something different.
Yep.
So
bring a flask, something to drink.
Yeah, definitely a flask.
Bring a flask with
you. Jock's Photo's asking, did you guys augment the light on the foreground or only ambient light? Like, for example, with certain shots, yes, certain shots, no. That shot, that was twilight and Milky Way. That was just 2 exposures. Mm-hmm. And then a 3 stack for the Milky Way. What type of laser? It was actually just the green laser pointer for my star tracker. I don't even know, it just came with it. So, but you can definitely get any green laser. And we even talked about, you can get red lasers now. You can get all these different types of lasers that we're like, next time we go out, we're going to be bringing lasers because it was so cool. And then a question for you, Mark. Nia's asking, very creative self-portraits. How do you come up with your ideas?
That's a good question. Some of them are, inspired by life events and things like that. But some of them are just, I don't know. I love just juxtapositioning different ideas. So, for example, like that picture with Ronald McDonald and the Chick-fil-A cow, just my mind's always working in those ways. I'm always thinking, what if always. I'm always trying to just come up with something that shouldn't work, but yet it somehow does. And that's where a lot of what I do comes about. Just trying to think beyond the obvious as much as possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then it becomes the obvious actually when you see it, like, wait a minute, that actually does make sense. So it's going beyond the obvious to find another obvious. That makes sense.
I think sometimes too, like, everyone like struggles with creativity sometimes, but to just jump out and just start doing it, and then things come. Oh yeah. Like when we were out on the shoot, like I didn't think we were going to use the light. I wasn't going out there to shoot light painting with a laser, but that was just a happy accident. I mean, these are the kind of things, like, you can't be afraid though to go out and just do it.
Yeah, and then you do it, and then you refine it, and then you get better at it.
Absolutely.
And then that keeps on going. Yeah, so experimentation. And that's one thing, I mean, I know, Mark, you're kind of, I remember talking to you last year, and you were kind of in a slump with that.
Oh, yeah.
What helped you get out of it?
Just some of it, was some things going on in life and stuff like that. Just kind of, but
life happens.
But because I kind of took time and kind of took care of those things, it allowed sort of a rebirth and like a renaissance sort of to happen at the beginning of this year. And now I'm so involved with so many projects, I don't have time to do them all. So, but it went from being where I had nothing going on to now where it's like I'm trying to fit them all in. So it's just finding the time, but also just I guess the inspiration just to do it, and just making sure that it was never gone. It was more like I just kind of put it on hold. So I knew it was there. I wanted to be creating, but just kind of took the time. And once I did and kind of got the things taken care of that I needed to, it just allowed it all to flow again. So I was definitely on a low point last year in my creativity, but it wasn't for lack of wanting. It was just more just taking care of what I needed to be doing at that time. And now, like I said, I don't have time for most of the stuff I want to do. It's just like, I've got so much I want to do now. It's just, trying to sort it all out. So,
yeah.
So Kathy's asking, did you stack for noise reduction? So some of the shots were stacked, some of them were not. This shot, for example, is from the 70D that's on screen. That is a stack. So that one was, I believe, 10 exposure stack. So basically what I went in is stacked 10 images of the Milky Way together. Software analyzes that, drops out the noise, keeps in the stars. I use an app called Starry Landscape Stacker. Let's see, right here, Starry Landscape Stacker. So that's what I use. You load in the shots, and basically it removes the noise. But really easy to use. You can also then paint on the foreground, so that way it doesn't, mess with your foreground, or it'll mask out your foreground if you want. And that is really helpful for removing the noise. And like I said, that was a 70D. So 70D, it's a crop sensor. It's a lot noisier of a camera. So that camera I tend to stack. With my 5D Mark III, I'll only stack if I need to. So it all just matters on the shot. A lot of times when I see the noise, but pretty much all the time on my 70D, I'm stacking. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and Eric had me shoot multiple frames to do the same technique, which I haven't had chance. Like,
yeah,
we just
and that's what I told you was just have them. Just take them to have them. Now, certain locations don't let you. Like, for example, when we were at Zion, trying to get 5 frames where a car is not driving through and just blasting their headlights up in the sky is very hard. You have to time it to where we can maybe get 2,
Correct.
3, but getting a lot of frames at Zion is going to be harder, especially nowadays, or now this time of year. If you go earlier in the season, when it is, the Milky Way's out late, like you're talking 3 o'clock in the morning, you're probably going to be there with nobody else. So it just all matters on the time of year and all that stuff. But with stacking is a great way to kind of equalize, or if you don't have a camera that can do that high ISO stacking. The other thing that can equalize is a star tracker, which we went over, is just something that will rotate with the Earth's rotation that'll allow you to keep your shutter open longer, so you can be at ISO 800 yet still get an exposure.
And you guys gotta definitely check out this class when it is released. It is going to be amazing.
Well, and I appreciate that, but I know you learned a lot, so that's where I felt like this is the first time you went out and did it, and you were like, yeah, I get it now. So I
we did
really cool.
night vision on Erik. So we got the from setting up all the way through the shoot, 3 different locations. Drone footage is going to be one of the best classes I think we've ever released here.
But oh boy, I don't know about that, but thank you, I appreciate that. Yeah, definitely. Well, we have to give away prizes, huh? And are we going to give away prizes? Yes. So we're going to be giving away the landscape book and a Platypod. Let's see who our winners are. So Joe Myris, you have won.
All right.
Good job,
Joe.
Let's figure out what Joe's
Thanks for
won.
tuning in.
What did Joe win? Joe, you won a Platypod. There you go. So, Joe, congratulations. And then Diane Allen. Is that Allen? Yeah. You've won the landscape book. So just contact Christina in the chat. She'll get you hooked up. And Joe, on the screen, you actually won a platypus.
Yeah, just to give Platypod a shout out. I got the Ultra.
Yes.
And I used it the entire trip. It was definitely in place of my tripod. I actually broke out a tripod and used it for an hour, and I was like, I gotta go back to the platypod. And it was really like that, because you can do so many things with it. And I was using the screws for the rocks, so it was awesome. Like with a big tripod, it's like I'm like trying to get the feet on, everything's slipping, and the platypod is like boop.
Yeah, and you get those little the spikes. It just grabs on those rocks.
I'm not sponsored by them, by the way.
I love mine.
Well, the Grid is sponsored, so we appreciate that. Well, guys, that wraps up the show for today. Thanks, Mark, for joining us. Where can they find out more about you?
At Godriguez Art anywhere. That's Godriguez, like Rodriguez, but Godriguez Art. Pretty much on all the different social areas. Social media platforms, and if you're in the Tampa Bay area or plan to come between now and the 19th, my show is at Gallery 114 in Ybor at the HCC Fine Arts Gallery or Fine Arts School there, and I will be doing the talk on the 5th. It's from 4:30 to 7:30, and I'll be doing my artist talk at around 6 o'clock. So
cool.
I'm really looking forward to that. It's going to be it's going to be special.
I think the Darker Quest will be in
yes.
in
I always describe my work as approachable darkness, so that'll be very appropriate if you're there.
So speaking of Darker Quest, he has changed his name.
Yeah, I was the Darker Quest. Now I'm the Digital Surgeon.
Yes.
I'm trying to boost those followers, so follow me if you can.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, man.
Just one.
The Digital Surgeon.
One shot. I just want to. If Mike, could you pull up the cello, or is it Ron now?
There's the cello shot.
So yeah, this is the shot I got at Photoshop World, which I used a 15 millimeter wide angle lens and went in close, and then I cut her out in Photoshop using Scott Kelby's new technique that our class is being released next week. Black and white architectural photography, but I used it on a person.
You used architecture technique on a person.
Yep.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's deep.
There you go. Well, but that's what I love. I do love that. Like I watched all the classes because you'd be amazed how many techniques go into my rocket photography. Like how many different, like there are, seriously, I remember talking to Tracy Sweeney saying, you know, I use some of your techniques in shooting rockets.
Absolutely. I mean, I get something out of every class. Even if I've seen the instructor, multiple times, I still walk away with something. So that's what I love about the Kelby classes and about Photoshop World, because I could be sitting there and, I've seen Joe McNally, I don't know how many times, and I'll still pull something out of it. Exactly. I mean, something new every time. I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah, and going back to like Mark's set and like at Photoshop World, it's such an awesome event that you can get a shot like that just going to a conference.
Yeah.
Yep.
That is so cool.
And you're around so many cool people.
Well, guys, we ran a little bit over. You see how it's like to be on the other side, right? So now you'll sympathize with us when
I could keep going for
another
half hour.
Cut it off.
See? Now, this was great. This was great, guys. We might actually get to do longer shows now that the Darker Quest has come on. So, well,
nice to see
thanks guys for coming on, and we'll see you guys next week.